treated us so good on that movie. Like, you know, the level of just first class was just like unparalleled, even to this day in my career. It was just so nice. They picked you up, they carried your luggage for you. It was like all like this crazy, like everything was done. Like, and we always got all these gifts all the time. They gave us like an iPod when it first came out. It was like the big thing. We all got one, and like, you know, they took us to Roots, and we were able to have a shopping spree of whatever we wanted. We got to go see Chris Rock and meet him backstage, and we got to go see Coldplay, and they took us to all these great things, and they were just so good to us and such nice people to work for and with. It was just like a really good experience, I thought.
What did you do to make Amy Poehler laugh? Do you remember?
Just whatever, just acting stupid all the time. Yeah. There was like a story that I told her that the one of the sound guys on Mean Girls was also a sound guy on Titanic, and somebody spiked the clam chowder on Titanic with LSD at lunch one time, and the whole entire crew started tripping. And he was telling me this story, and he said that, you know, there was so like the UPM got up at lunch and was like, okay, everyone who doesn't feel good, go to this side of the room, and everyone who feels good, go to this side of the room. And then like the room got up and like divided in two, and then slowly people from the I don't feel good side started to trickle over to, or from the I feel good side started to trickle over to the I don't feel good side. And they just rushed everyone to the emergency room in the hospital, and they were on gurneys and wheelchairs and filling up all the rooms and the waiting rooms. There's just too many people, and there's really nothing you could do to treat LSD. So my friend's sitting there on a gurney, and he turns to the side, and Bill Paxton's there. And he turns to him and he goes, just ride it out, man. Just ride it out, bro. Like, and so I later on talked to Bill Paxton and got that story confirmed to be absolutely true. But at the time I had just heard it, and I was telling it to Amy, making her laugh. And it was just fun. I mean, it's just fun to be around them.
That is, I mean, listen, making Amy Poehler laugh. I mean, come on. What was it like working with Lindsay Lohan?
You know, for me, I was 26 when I made the movie, and she was 15, and I didn't really know her movies. So it wasn't like I wasn't starstruck around her or whatever, anything like that. So, and she, you know, since she was young, she was still a teenager, she still had to go to school. So it's like we'd film a scene and then she'd leave and go to school. And sometimes we would go out at night, but again, I'm like hanging at the club with like a bouncer and a 16-year-old, you know, it's like, it was cool. But I get now, like as an adult, like we dig each other so much more, and there's so much more friendship and fun things that we've done now. But I think that like back then it was a cool experience. We were just all kind of like, wow, we're on this ride together, you know.
Absolutely. And that makes sense. And she just got married. So that's, you know.
Yeah, she looks very healthy and happy, and I'm very happy for her.
Do you keep in touch with like the cast and Mean Girls?
I do when I can. It's difficult, you know, we're all doing different things. You know, Hollywood's very weird like that. You become really close with people, and then you just don't talk until you run into each other. It's kind of like a lot of Hollywood's like that. And then there's like not really like a fear of never talking to those people again. Even if you don't see them for 4 or 5 years, you end up working on something or having a call or whatever. But I think with the exception of just a few cast members, I think most of us have kept in contact.
That makes sense. Even when I first started this podcast, I would have guests on, it would be so great, and I would follow up and DM, and then it's like, that's just not how it works. And then you're like, you come back on, you have a really authentic experience. It's kind of the same thing, just as a movie, it's drawn out and much more high end, and like it goes on.
Well, you know, it's actually weird, and I think that I had to learn a lesson. And when I talk to colleges, I try to tell, like, especially when I do like a master class at like an acting class, like actors, our emotions are so right here, you know, and they tell us, oh, you guys are going to play best friends, or you guys are going to play brother and sister, or whatever, or you're going to be boyfriends or girlfriends, and you got to get really close really fast. And so you go out to dinner, and you sit up all night at the hotel, and you know, you tell your deepest, darkest secrets, and you become really close really fast, because that's the game. That's what you're trying to do to make the relationships translate on screen. So it's intense to spend 2.5 months with somebody or more, and get to know them every single day and become like best friends and have different kinds of relationships that are just within the movie. Oh, that makeup artist annoys me. Oh my God, don't you just love Sally, the catering girl, or whatever? And like, you have these experiences, these shared experiences, and then it's all over and you say goodbye. And maybe you kind of have a little bit of a stronger friendship until the premiere, because you know that you have that experience coming up. So you're checking in with each other or whatever. And then at the premiere, everyone's dressed up. It gives you this graduation high school moment where you're just like, oh my God, like it's so bittersweet. And you're hugging each other and you don't look like your character anymore. We were seeing each other in the same clothes for 2 months every day, you know, and then it's like, you know, especially like if the movie takes place in like one night, like I've done movies like that where you're in the same outfit every day for 2 months. And so then you're like, oh, this is your style and this is how you dress and this is who you are, you know, and you meet them on that level and then you separate and go your same ways. And then, you know, at the Golden Globes, you're like, holy shit, or whatever, and you run into each other and it's like, but if you're anyone, and I'm paraphrasing somebody else here who was talking and I'm trying to remember exactly who said it, but another actor said this one time and I was like, man, it's so true. He was like, if you're anyone worth your salt in this business, you're working on so many different projects at once that you're literally too busy to have friends. And the only friends that you're allowed to have are the people that you see at these same functions and these same house parties and this one's birthday. And so there is a social element to Hollywood where you have to constantly like stay in good with like a certain crowd or go to these things. And I've given up on that. I've really given up on that because I feel like I'm not a hot Hollywood girl. You know, like in going to these things, it really doesn't serve me in that same kind of way. And if I'm not actually having fun at some of these things, like I hang out with a lot of my stand-up comedy friends who have become like some of the best friends I've ever had. Like I think that I laugh with them, I do things with them, like, and it's a different vibe to me than the actors in Hollywood and how they portray themselves and how they all have to like top themselves. I mean, I remember when a famous actor died and someone who was really close to that actor was like, you should have seen how much my IMDb number went up. And I was like, there's just like weird people in this town. And I'm like, not like that. You know, I've always been like too close to God and like too centered. My mother would kick my frigging ass if I ever became a person like that. I just feel too real and I have real beat into my head by my mother with the back of a wooden spoon, maybe. But I just feel too real to subscribe to a lot of that stuff. So friendships are difficult to maintain in this town. It's a difficult thing. I mean, I remember thinking somebody was like a really good friend of mine. And I think when people become really successful, they go through the looking glass. And I'm the type of person like in Alice in Wonderland and then Alice in the Looking Glass, Alice goes in and out again. So I'm more of an Alice. I can go in and I can go out. But some people are the Mad Hatter. They freaking live there on the other side of the looking glass. And I've watched people like, you know, go in and to never see them again. And then like you end up at something like the Emmys or the Golden Globes or something, and then everyone's there, right? That's like literally a party at the Queen of Hearts house. Like the whole cast of Alice in Wonderland's at one of those things. So when you show up to those things, MTV Movie Awards, what have you, and you see all these people, they're like, oh my God. And I remember not seeing someone for 5 years that I considered really close that I've been through adventures with or whatever, that